Hello everybody, it's Tommy and welcome back to another video. Today we are finally building Maleficent's Castle. This has been a really long time coming and very much the big build of Forgotten Hollow that I have been leading up to. So I'm really excited that this is completely finished and that I'm finally getting this out to you. I cannot even tell you guys how many problems I have had along the way just to get to this point. So basically, if you know, you know, I started live streaming on Twitch. My first stream was last Friday, and that was the first time that I had ever built live in front of anybody. And of all things to decide to build, it had to be Maleficent's Castle, which is one of the hardest, most complicated, annoying builds I have ever done. And I knew it was going to be that way, which was one of the reasons I was sort of procrastinating it. But of course, it sort of lined up perfectly that I needed to do something for the Disney save. The only thing left to do for this world was build this castle, and I just started live streaming and everything was set up and ready to go. So it made sense to combine it all into one and sit down and do my first live stream with this castle. And definitely that was a mistake. Although it went really well on stream, the castle basically entirely bugged out and I had to restart and build the exterior from scratch. So first of all, let me just say I am streaming over on Twitch. So that is at twitch.tv/TomilynYT with 2 N's, and that'll be linked down below in my description box if you want to come and hang out on stream. You can follow me over there. Make sure you turn notifications on so that you know when I go live. But basically my schedule right now is to stream Sims and Disney Save related content Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I basically go until I don't have anything left to do. So sometimes it's 2 hours, sometimes it's 4 or 5 hours, but the goal is to stay live as long as possible so I can get as much work done as I possibly can, and so that I can hang out with people in multiple regions, because so many of you are like, I'm from outside of the US, I'm from the West Coast, I live in Canada, I live in the UK, and I'm trying to accommodate and just be there for a wide array of you. So definitely come hang out. It is linked down below, and if you do or did, you would have been able to come watch me build this on stream and see the nightmare that was. On Fridays, I am going to attempt to be doing some variety streaming and playing some games that are outside of The Sims that I enjoy, like Planet Zoo, Pokemon, Apex Legends, Sea of Thieves is a big one for me. I'm not quite sure what I want to start out with, but I'm thinking that I will just kind of play whatever I feel like that day. And I also want to set up some times where I can play with other streamers on Fridays, or maybe play with some of you guys. If you're a part of my Discords, specifically, that is where I would set most of that stuff up. So if you want to be a part of that, Discord is linked down below, Twitch is linked down below. Go ahead and give me a follow so that we can come hang out. But so far, it's been a really great experience. I appreciate everybody who has come and shown up to hang out and do some building with me. It has been so fun and a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Like, I was definitely nervous, and a lot of it comes from just doing something new. You know, it's always like a very nerve-wracking experience, but everyone has been so kind, so loving, very helpful, patient, so funny, and just like fun to hang out with. And it's really interesting that I was able to constantly bring up topics outside of The Sims on stream, and a lot of you are into the same exact things that I am outside of The Sims. So that's always really fun to be able to just like not sim myself out too much and talk about things that I also enjoy and other games that I enjoy and animes and movies and all of that good stuff. And it feels really cozy and fun, and I've just been having an absolute blast with it, to the point where I actually have hit sort of a wall in the Disney save where I now need to plan the next world, because we're completely finished with this castle and we are done with basically everything that I could potentially live stream when it comes to Sims, just for now, until I can do a little bit more planning. But I really want to get back to streaming. Like, I wanted to do another stream tomorrow, and I was like, I don't really have anything to stream, but I think I might get on and play a new game. So if you're watching this, I may be live tomorrow at 10 a.m. to just play something a little random. And if you want to come hang out, that'll be fun too. I might play Monster Prom. That's a game that I have videos of on my channel. It's definitely 18 plus, so keep that in mind and beware a little bit of swearing, all that good stuff. But it's like a choices type of game where you go through and try and win a prom date, and it's really fun and a little quirky. and I enjoy it. So I think I will be live doing that tomorrow, and then we'll get back to speed building on probably Monday once I've had some time to plan a few things and work on some stuff with my patrons, because they really help me plan out what's going to happen with the save file, what characters, what builds, and we are moving on to the next world, which will be Mount Komorebi. So we're going to be focusing on Mulan and obviously both of the Frozen movies, and I'm sure a couple of other movies that will get brought up inevitably in the planning process. So I have to do all that, and then we can sort of move on to doing some of the speed builds and all that. But it'll be exciting to not be in Forgotten Hollow anymore, honestly. I really needed the break. In fact, we were supposed to start a version 2 of this world. So if you have watched every speed build for Forgotten Hollow, you already know this, but for those of you who just started watching, or if this is your first speed build of mine, I am doing 2 versions of Forgotten Hollow for the Disney save. So what you are currently watching is version 1, and it is a villains themed world. The next one will be Nightmare Before Christmas, and I was supposed to do them back to back, but this one has taken me so long that I am no longer interested in doing the Nightmare Before Christmas world right now. I will definitely do it later. I have so many cute plans for that world, and I think it'll actually be a lot quicker than this one was, only because this world required a lot of larger builds, whereas that one I know won't include as many. So I plan to do it, might even potentially get done like in spooky season next year, but right now I need a break. I need to move on to the new world in The Sims and focus on some snowy stuff, some Japan and Chinese inspired stuff. That's exactly what I need right now. So it's really exciting to be on to something a little bit new. So like I mentioned, I actually had to build this castle twice. So what happened was I built probably 4 or 5 hours worth of footage of the exterior of this castle on stream, and it came out okay. I was decently happy with it. It wasn't my favorite. It didn't come out exactly how I had pictured it in my head. And I think this is a very difficult castle to do, and I set my expectations a little too high given the game restrictions and the lot restrictions and a lot of the different elements that I'm working with here. However, I definitely knew I wasn't happy enough with it to be able to put it out as like, this is a Disney save build. I knew that it needed more work. So after I got off of stream, I was moving rocks around and kind of playing with it a little bit, thinking that I would be able to change where I had positioned a few things and I would probably be okay with how it looked. That's what happened when I did Horn King's Castle. I really did not like the exterior, and I basically just moved a few things slightly, and all of a sudden it just sort of clicked and I felt really good about it. So I was thinking that would be the same situation with this, and then I found that there was like some kind of a weird glitch going on with the lot, and I'm not sure if it was stairs, platforms, the multiple foundation heights that I am using here. I don't know what was going on, but basically I carved out a basement and I filled the basement with rocks, and I had a really hard time doing that on stream. The game was like glitching out and didn't want me to do it all at once. It was basically making me do it in sections, and it was just being really tedious and annoying. And I should have known that that was going to be a problem from the moment that that started happening, but the basement was so glitched that I actually couldn't build in the basement, and I couldn't do anything downstairs, and the rocks were sort of like working and twisting in weird ways, and then the stairs started doing this glitch that I have never seen before in this game, where the walls from the stairs would stay, but just the stairs would disappear. So I would have just the edging of the stairs, but no like visible stairs. The craziest, weirdest stuff started happening, and it was Sunday, and I was kind of preparing for stream for the next day, for Monday, and I knew I had to get the castle to basically like the next point so that we could go ahead and start doing some decorating on stream. And it was so buggy and I disliked it so much that I just decided I needed to give it another go. So I tore the whole thing down and I built a second one, and that is what you guys are currently seeing here today. So actually everybody who came to my original streams has not seen this footage, but the two castles are very similar. There is another major difference between the two that I built. Originally on stream, I had picked a rock from Star Wars, and it was the same rock that I used in Horn King's Castle. It's this very like black cathedral sort of spiky looking rock, but it didn't look right. And as soon as I started putting them all over, I knew it didn't look right. I don't know why I kept going with it, thinking that it was going to work out for me. So I ended up scrolling through debug for a long time, and I found a different rock that was a lot closer to what I wanted. And it was these beautiful rocks from Island Living. They're like the lava rocks that make up some of the volcanoes as a part of that world. They are so much more like similarly shaped to the rocks that I was seeing on the references. They sized up better. They were just better overall. So I went around and replaced the foundation with those rocks and tried to do that instead. And I definitely think that the look of the castle is a lot better. It's a lot closer. Something that's really important to note with this castle is just the lack of reference and the lack of like really clear, detailed reference. Even from rewatching the movie, I wasn't able to get too much more reference outside of the very few distance visuals that you have of the actual castle. So there's that one shot that everybody knows that's kind of like over a hill and has the drawbridge kind of winding up, and then you see the castle almost from the side, but that was really not helpful. You can't even tell what's really going on. You can't tell the difference between a tower and a rock, and I needed more than that. So luckily for me, Disney happens to make like a lot of their castles into 3D objects. So they'll make them in candle format or a Christmas ornament. And then I can use the model that they've created for that and really use it as like the framework for my speed build. That was something I was looking desperately for when I did Horn King's Castle. But because of the lack of popularity with Black Cauldron, you don't see as much Disney merchandise. And that's definitely not the case for Maleficent and her castle. So patrons and people that were a part of stream all sent me a bunch of really great references of some different statues and some different like objects that really help show you how the castle is shaped. But I have to say, just based after like looking at tons of references of this thing, it changes all the time. Like the one that you see in the movie looks a certain way, and then maybe Disney made a Christmas ornament in 2009, and then they made another one in 2012, and the castles don't even really look that similar. So there's a lot of reference, but all of it is slightly different from one another. And that's when I knew I was going to have to basically do what I felt like was right. That's not my favorite thing to do, especially for a castle as iconic as Maleficent's, but I knew that as long as I got the ambiance right, the general shape, get that good like purpley green glow that the castle has, and just theme all of the rooms to really make them embody her character, I felt like I could do this pretty confidently. Now, something else that I actually did, and I don't do this normally, but I was struggling with this castle so much that I actually went to go see if anybody else had ever built this castle in The Sims and put it up in like a YouTube video format, so that I could see or maybe hear in like a voiceover what they had potentially used as reference and just help me out a little bit. Just anything else. I wanted to see what someone else's version of this castle looked like so that I could kind of figure out where I wanted to go. And this rarely happens, but I couldn't find anything. And normally when it comes to Disney, specifically like popular movies like Beauty and the Beast and the Disney princess movies and all that, basically everything has been built in The Sims. You can already find a YouTube video of any castle that you're interested in, any like really popular Disney build, you can find it all. And that's never really been a problem for me when it comes to doing the Disney save, because a lot of my builds are like, let's say the Disney Princess Castle video was done like 3 years ago, and then we get all these new packs, so it'll end up coming out a little bit different. But just in general, everybody builds differently, everyone uses different references, has different tricks, different ideas. I might be a more cluttery type of builder than some people, so you might get like a simplified version, whereas mine might be like different. Everyone has their own style, their own taste. So that kind of stuff never bothers me, and I never really look that stuff up, but I really just wanted a little extra help on this one to see what other people who had attempted this castle really thought about the entire process, only to hit a wall and see that nobody that I could find had done it before. And I definitely know why. This is a tough one. This might even be the hardest build that I have ever done off the top of my head. Like, I've done ones that are bigger than this, more detailed than this, and I ran into more problems with than this, but there was something about this one that I like mentally didn't want to do it. I was nervous, the live streaming, it was just a whole thing. But I am happy to say the end result I am really happy with. And I think everybody on stream was really kind about it and said that they were really happy with it. I definitely would not be putting this video out if I wasn't happy with it, but it turned out like better than I guess I was expecting that it initially was gonna go based after the few days of turmoil leading up to this point. Now, the top levels of the castle, including the 4 or 5 towers that are in the back there, are non-accessible mostly. I decided not to do stairs. A few of them are on the diagonal, so it really wouldn't have worked out anyway. And what happens when you do foundations that are that high in order to create towers like that, you have to find like really long stairs that'll go basically everywhere, and you'll end up twisting them all over the place to kind of get them to work. So I didn't want to do stairs, and I did think about doing ladders maybe, but then I sort of decided, and a lot of people were bringing up when I was streaming, that Maleficent's going to be a spellcaster, and she's going to be a really good one. So I think she would be able to teleport all over her castle. That is something that you can apply to spellcasters, is basically the ability to teleport everywhere, and they will no longer walk. I believe the Enchantress in my save file also has that same thing going on with her. So I knew that it could be done, and I knew that for the most part, those towers in the back were basically just going to be for show anyway. They do have a little bit of decor in them. Some of them are decorated like extra bedrooms. Some of them are like spellcastery type of rooms. I think one of them has an extra bathroom, but I didn't include them in the video today. And to be honest, they're not really very detailed, and they're not even the best part of this build by any means. Most of what I think the best part of this build is the exterior and then the downstairs portion. So we have the towers, we have this main entryway that leads into the throne room, which does get shown in the movie, and I am using a lot of movie reference for in the replication process. And thank God we got platforms. Platforms came in so handy for this build. I used platforms downstairs in the bedroom, the bathroom, multiple towers, in the throne room, and I think that also contributed very much so to the fact that this build was very buggy and was having a really hard time when I was building it. I am happy to say that after doing Maleficent, creating her in cast and walking around this castle just a little bit that I actually did on stream, it works out well. Like, it is working well, and I'm going to playtest it before it goes on the gallery. In fact, now that I am done with Forgotten Hollow, I have to go into the process of beginning to playtest this world. So we are going to playtest it, I'll do all that, and then I'll put out version 3 of the save file that will include a completed Willow Creek, Evergreen Harbor, and now Forgotten Hollow, and then I can finally move on to the new world. But first, I will be sure to playtest everything, and then everything will kind of go up on the gallery. And if you're somebody that downloads the portions of the save file that I've been putting out, you can expect to see that on Patreon for free. I always put up the downloads for free on Patreon, so it's public. In the next coming weeks, obviously Christmas and stuff is coming up for me, so I am definitely going to be taking some time for myself the week of Christmas. In fact, Christmas Eve is my birthday, so I really need some time off, to be honest. This whole thing has been a really long, like, I've just been working nonstop. Everything crazy has been going on for a while now, and I do feel like I need a break. So that'll be the next thing, but Mount Komorebi is on its way. Now, this throne room was great because it had a lot of reference for it. The way that it's shaped in the movie is actually more of like a hexagon or an octagon, and it has stairs that wrap up around and go up to a second platform where her throne is. And that's basically what I've created in here. It's not the same shape, and it's definitely not the same size. It was a lot bigger in the other movie, but we had to make do basically with what we had. And I also found out that those benches right there are in fact not benches, which is something that I didn't know. I always thought that the stone tables there from Outdoor Retreat were always benches, and it's just from lack of reading, really, that I didn't know that. But I actually went to go playtest everything on stream for a little bit, and I wanted to just have her sit in her throne and have that like moment of a completed sim in her fully finalized build. just to find out that those are tables. So I will be replacing those and fixing the throne a little bit so that it's functional, but I just wanted to get the general idea out there so that everybody knew basically what it was going to look like. A lot of this castle was actually very medieval looking. If you know from the movie, the castle itself is like very broken down, decrepit. It's got like cracks everywhere. The stone is sort of coming out of the walls and like deteriorating. And it looks like at one point it was probably a very different castle, very well kept and just different. But Maleficent being the owner of it probably didn't help very much, and it has definitely decayed over the years and not seen proper maintenance. So it has this very medieval, stony vibe that is very similar to Horn King's castle, but different in a sort of more like feminine way, and it has a lot of like Maleficent's charm. There's like green fireplaces and fire pits all over. There's purple flags hanging from the wall. That's really like makes up her general color scheme. So I wanted to make sure I had a lot of that stuff. Now, the way that the actual castle was designed on top, that basically meant that I had to put all of the stuff that you traditionally need for The Sims downstairs. So the downstairs portion is really where the bulk of the living quarters is. This is going to be Maleficent's bedroom, the main kitchen, the dining room, the living room, and then below this, there will actually be a dungeon, and it is a functional dungeon that I will talk about when we get down there to decorate. If you are a human sim, there is a tower that's off by itself on the far right-hand side of the lot that has a ladder that comes down here so that your human sims or anybody that you would really wish could get down here. For Maleficent, it'll be easy because she can just kind of jump around. And for characters that I feel like would come and visit her very often, like a lot of you have mentioned her having some kind of a relationship with Hades, he will be able to come easily and hang out. He will also probably be able to teleport. But regardless, I wanted to make sure that there was accessibility for whatever type of game play or story that you guys are interested in telling. And although I don't really see her cleaning and like cooking and having her own kitchen and using it in any way, I just wanted to make sure that it was there. So the actual footage from the kitchen and the bathroom I did cut for time purposes, but let me know if you guys want to see a tour video of this place. I feel like I've spent a lot of time in it over the past week or so, so I'm all like Maleficent's castled out. I don't want anything to do with this place for a little while, but if you guys want to see a tour video, especially if you were not a part of stream and you didn't get to see me do any of this on stream, let me know, because there are quite a few things that are missing, and even when I was doing the live stream, I changed some of the rooms so they don't look the way that they did on stream. If you want a tour video, make sure you comment down below and let me know. I promised for these larger builds that I would offer it as an option, but you guys gotta tell me. Another trick that I really love to do that was definitely no exception to this build, and I use this in pretty much like every build that I really need a certain glow or essence to it. I will hide these little lava lamps all over the place because they glow, they're so bright, and they create I don't know what other word to use than essence that I feel like is unmatched for building purposes. So I like to hide them beneath furniture, and they only come in a few colors, but luckily for me, purple and green are two of the colors. So instead of doing traditional lighting throughout this castle, instead of doing like candles on the walls and candelabras and chandeliers and all that stuff, I decided this place was entirely going to be lit by these like sort of hidden lava lamps. So it's very dark, but everything has like a glow that's just bright enough that you'll be able to play with it, I feel. And the castle itself up top has this glow at night that's really special and compares to like nothing in the save file so far. Very unique, very pretty. It is going to stand out and look like amazing at night. But the downstairs portion will always look like this because it will always be dark down here. So you will always get this beautiful like green, purpley kind of glow for the living quarters. We don't really get to see any of these things in the movie. We don't get to see an interior of her bedroom or like a kitchen or anything like that. And a lot of this had to just entirely be made up and based after what I felt like was a good choice based after what we do see and the rest of the castle. In fact, in the movie, she actually has like this tall tall winding staircase that goes to a really high tower that looks way too small to have a bedroom in it, but is presumably her bedroom because she's seen kind of coming in and out of that multiple times in the movie. And I think that that would be the tallest, most furthest back tower, but that was way too small for a bedroom in my opinion. And since we didn't get to see what it actually looked like, I didn't think it was a big deal if we got to move it and do something a little bit more grand on one of the bottom levels where I can do whatever shape I want to. This was the first opportunity also for me to be able to use platforms for beds. And I had mentioned in a previous video that I was really excited to possibly be able to do like a really grand bed such as this one with lots of drapery and have the like separate staircase that you can sort of walk up to this big beautiful bed. And it makes this bed from Vampires that I have used quite a few times now look very interesting and different instead of what, you know, like you reusing furniture all the time and keeping it the same. This is very unique. Like nobody else in the save file has a big beautiful platform bed like this. Not to say that I won't use it in other castles, and I definitely could see it being used in like Cinderella's castle and some of the larger castles that we're going to do with a very similar idea with like the columns and the drapery, but this is like in the dungeon-y basement area. It's so glowy and fun. And it was the first one I got to do, so of course it is a little exciting. You might have heard me mention this a few times, but we did also create Maleficent in a separate stream. I actually just got done doing that, and now I'm doing this voiceover, but I'm going to be editing that soon to have out in a cast video for those of you who missed it, and that'll be out probably tomorrow or Friday potentially, depends on what time this video actually ends up going up today, because this is running really late. Actually, to add to the mess that this entire process has been for me, I already recorded the voiceover for this video and only found out at the very last possible second. Like I watched the last bit of audio clear and be fully recorded, and I went to go edit it only to find that my computer decided to use the wrong mic. So this is my second time recording because that mic was off of my webcam, and webcam audio is not the best if you knew. In fact, you probably will hear a little bit of differences from audio and like differences in all sorts of stuff while I kind of collect everything and get everything back to normal over the next few weeks. It is a goal of mine to get everything running as smoothly as I had it before I had to implement all of the live streaming stuff. And I know it doesn't seem like a lot. You're like, just turn the game on and play and turn on a webcam. How can that possibly be like that bad? But it required me to change basically every setting in my computer, and I'm actually going to have to upgrade my computer to fully be able to do everything that I want to be able to do. So it's been a lot, and learning everything and like reinstalling Reshade, I had to take that out. And then actually the night before I was supposed to go live for the first time, and that I had already like said very publicly, I am 100% live streaming tomorrow at this time, and I was not interested in disappointing anybody because so many people were very encouraging and said that they were going to be there, and I was so excited. My Sims game decided it was not going to open at 3 o'clock in the morning. I did one final test to make sure that everything was working perfectly, and that final test, the Sims wouldn't open. It wouldn't even consider opening. It was like, it would load to start opening, and then it would just immediately shut down. I couldn't even get the game to like the little plumb bob screen where it's like loading. It wouldn't even get that far. And I had to mess with that for hours and hours. So it has been a lot. And now I have to kind of put the pieces all back together and get everything back to how I had it before I messed with everything to get everything else working, if that makes sense. So bear with me with audio differences, with visual differences. There is actually no reshade on this video. That is one of the reasons why the footage is so dark. And I hope that it's not too dark for you guys, because I usually do not record speed builds without a reshade, but I had to for this, and I actually had a huge problem with that as well. So this is the first video I think I've put out in maybe over a year that doesn't have a reshade on it, and that is one of the reasons why it is a little bit dark down here. It also depends on your monitor and your settings and brightness, and like if you're watching on mobile and all that, because when I was recording on stream, I thought it all looked really fine, and now that I have gone through and edited all the footage, I now realize that it is a little bit dark. But for playing purposes, you should be generally fine. And I don't know, do you guys use reshade? Because I absolutely would not play The Sims without it at this point. I've had it for a long time, and if I was going to do like a let's play of this series, I definitely would use my reshade. So it'll look like what you're seeing right now, for me at least. Something else that I really wanted to bring up with you guys that I really want some opinions on. So I've been thinking about this for a while, and this is something that would come later down the road, but I'm kind of trying to see how much interest there would be in something like this. A lot of you have asked me if I will be doing Let's Plays in the Disney save, and I have considered it pretty heavily. I don't normally do Let's Plays. They don't interest me. They're hard to edit. It's a little bit tough, but between live streaming and potentially making some Let's Play videos, I could see myself doing it, but I'm a little bit more interested in the idea of like a challenge. And I know there's a Disney Legacy challenge rather, but it's pretty much a Disney Princess challenge, as far as I know. And I've seen some creators play it, and I feel like I can make one that suits my save file a little bit better. Not to say that that one isn't really good, because it is, and I really enjoy watching people go through that and play the Disney Legacy challenge, but it doesn't require like too much, and I have so much foundation already set up. I have so many locations that like you wouldn't get otherwise. So I'm kind of curious about potentially creating my own Disney challenge that would be more focused on not just the princesses, but a lot of the storylines, or maybe including 99%, if not all, of the major characters in like level format, where you could go from household to household and kind of do certain things as a part of the challenge, or you could pick and choose little bits that you would want to work on. But I don't know, I've kind of had that in the back of my head for a little bit about doing a Disney save challenge to go with the save file, and it would come way down the road. I have a laundry list of things that I would have to do before I could even consider that. But if there was interest, I feel like I could see myself putting something together. So let me know what you think about that whole thing. That is definitely like, I've been thinking about it a lot more, and I want to see if people are interested more so than anything. This is the living room portion of Maleficent's Castle, and this actually also had to be rebuilt. I hated the way I had done it on stream, and even when I did it on stream, I was like, I'm gonna go back and fix this later, guys. I don't like the way it's turning out, and I don't know what's wrong with it, but something's wrong with it. Let me go back later and fix it. And as soon as stream ended, I got rid of the whole thing, and I added a little dining room off to the side, and I fixed this. And the second version of it is way better. That little picture above the couch behind the fireplace, I'm going to replace that with a really cool portrait of Maleficent for the save file. I'm going to have like a painter do like a beautiful painting of her, maybe in some CC clothes, so she really looks like how she looks from the movie, and add her to the back of that. But that was sort of like the placeholder for it for now. And like I mentioned, no kitchen, no dining in today's video, I don't think, and no bathroom. There's nothing really too special about the bathroom. It's just a basic platform bathroom, and the kitchen is really, really bare bones, especially because I didn't think that Maleficent would be using it that much. Apparently, I have included the dining room today. So there you go, a little bit bonus. The idea was actually brought up to me to do a really long table, and that was by AJ. He's one of my patrons and also a mod for pretty much everything that I do, and is always super, super helpful. He had suggested that we do this really long dining table with one chair at the end of it, so that you could kind of like get that vibe that she eats her meals like alone at this grand table that could definitely serve like so many people, but she's by herself 99% of the time. So although it went against like my initial building judgment to like fill this entire thing up with chairs. We just did the one big purple chair at the end of the hallway, and I thought it would be a good idea to also really fill this room with mirrors. There are basically no mirrors in this entire castle, but there are a lot of mirrors in here, and the reason I did that is because mirrors tend to make a room feel and look really big, and I could picture her sitting in there and like looking around at the mirrors in this big dining room and this big empty table and just feeling like not sad, but like she's all alone. Like she doesn't have a lot of friends. She's a villain. She's like queen villain. In fact, one of the traits that we ended up giving her, I believe, was loner. So she doesn't even really want company necessarily, but even if she wanted the company, there would be no room for them to eat. And I think that that was a really great idea. Also, so many of you recommended that I download the Better Build and Buy mod that helps organize debug and makes it so that things are easily searchable. And you'll notice it here and there throughout the clips in this video. I did download it. I love it. Thank you guys for the recommendation. It is going to be a lifesaver. If for nothing else, the biggest reason that it is going to be like the best thing that's ever happened to me, you can now clone debug objects and hold shift to like clone them, which is something you couldn't previously do. And I cannot even tell you how many builds that would have been game changer for. That would have made the difference between hours of work between like pulling the same object in and out of debug a million times. Or if you use an object once and it's from debug and then you want to go try and find it again, you have to remember the exact place in debug that it is located because you can't search it. So now not only can I search it, I can clone it, which is even better. And I used it a lot in this build. It was super helpful. The only problem that I was experiencing with it, and I kind of think it's something that I did wrong, but it was turning my debug off a lot. So I had to keep re-entering the cheat to like open the debug catalog, which I found to be really weird, but that was what it was doing. So I think I did something wrong, but in general, the mod is working great. And I was blown away by Twisted Mexi and the mod. I will link it down below for those of you who do not know what I'm talking about. You can basically install this one mod and you will have full access to everything in the debug category that is like named. So instead of everything in the debug catalog having just these codes and SKUs that make it really hard to find individual objects, and quite frankly, I don't even know what's in there for most of it because nothing has a name. Everything now has a name and it will be a lifesaver for me. So thank you again to those of you who recommended that. That was like the #1 comment that because I was complaining so much in my Horned King Castle video. You guys saved my life. Now with this dungeon, it is a functional dungeon. That is something that I wanted to make sure I included at least in one location in the Disney save, and Forgotten Hollow definitely seems like the place that would be the most appropriate. But you also get some really good footage in the movie of Prince Philip being held in the dungeon, so you get to see what it looks like. And rather than being like chains and barred dungeons, kind of like a jail cell, these are individual rooms that are closed off and just made of brick, and obviously the main door is locked. And that is basically what was shown in the movie, as well as like a bench that you can sit on that has chains that can tie like a person to the wall or whatever. And I just learned, like I mentioned earlier in the video, that those are actually not benches, they are chairs, they are tables. So I'm going to have to go in and replace all of those. But that new item is from Snowy Escape, and it is a rain gutter, but it's a chain and it's attached to the wall. So I think that it works in this instance. I didn't want to have a lot of light down here. I wanted to make sure that there was like functional toilets. Say if you wanted to actually go through the storyline and play with Prince Philip and like you wanted to keep him down there or whatever, I didn't want him to die on you. So I gave him a few things to keep him alive. And then of course like the little windows that people always escape from in the dungeon that absolutely had to be down there. And that is actually going to be the end of today's video. Thank you for staying this long. If you made it all the way to the end here, let me know down below if you'd like to see a tour video. And don't forget to follow me on Twitch if you want to come hang out and do some building with me or play some other games. If you would like to support the Disney Save on Patreon, you can do so by clicking the link in my description box down below or the one at the end of the video. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Hit that little bell icon below to turn on post notifications so you can get updated every single time I post, and I will talk to you all in the next one.